Recording going on. Oh, yes, now.
Is it show?
Great.
Great.
Yes, now it shows. Okay, so Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome. Nice meeting all of you. My name is Hibatullah Saleh, and I'll be the one giving this workshop today. I met some of you before in previous workshops and on campus. Some of you are very new to me, and it was nice meeting all of you right before we start recording. Um, this workshop, inshallah, we're going to give, it will be 8-day workshop. It will be sort of reminders, really quick reminders every single day for 1 hour each day. The way I prepare my workshops to go is basically depending on participation. So I hope and I expect lots of participation on each day. Discussions, sharing thoughts, questions, whatsoever. Please feel free to interrupt me at any point of time if there is something that's not clear, or if there is anything that you'd like to ask about. It's basically, I love really the workshops to be depending on discussions and participation, because it enriches the content of the workshop. This workshop is basically focused on Zulhijjah, which is the last month in the Islamic calendar. Each day will be a different topic. I believe Kim sent you all the outline of the workshop, right? Did all of you, if somebody got the outline, please nod or give me any hints that you got, what we're going to cover. Okay, so today, inshallah, will be the very first topic, and we will be talking about the Islamic calendar. The focus, as I said, will be basically on Dhul Hijjah, but in order for us to cover Dhul Hijjah, which is starting, inshallah, the coming week, we need to understand how the Islamic calendar works and what it is actually. So today we will be focusing on that. We'll cover the Islamic calendar, what are the Islamic months, the names, the meanings, what the Arabs used to do, and some virtues about some months. And inshallah, we will continue our discussion, digging deeper into the Hijjah, inshallah, tomorrow. So at the very beginning, I would like to ask you first, may you kindly share with me any information that you know about the Islamic calendar or the Hijri calendar? Like, any thoughts? It doesn't have to be really solid information, something that you've known before. Think of something. Just
Ramadan is a month.
Yes, thank you so much, Ramla. Yes, Ramadan is the month. What else?
It's based on the moon.
Perfect.
Like the
yes.
movements of the moon, like from one moon phase to another moon phase.
Okay. Yes. What else? How many months is it?
I think it's 10, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything that you've heard about any other months? Do you know any of the names other than Ramadan? And of course, Dhul Hijjah, because I mentioned that.
So would it be 12?
Yes.
Because
okay. Yeah.
Because also the word month comes from moon as well.
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. So today we will have some history talking, more of religion. So let's just take a quick glance on how calendar works in general. So we all know the normal calendar that we follow, which is January, February, March till December. There are actually two types of calendars in that the history witnessed, kind of. There is the solar calendar and the lunar calendar. Okay, the solar calendar, that this is the calendar that's based on the sun, and I would say it's more of political calendar than any other thing, because the sun keeps its shape and keeps its appearance all the time. So it's more of a political calendar than any other thing. And the calendar that we work according to, which is the normal month that we know, January, February, it was actually introduced in the 1500s by one of the popes, whose name was Pope Gregory. Pope Gregory XIII is the one who invented this calendar, and since then it was the calendar that the rest of the world kind of followed. Okay, there is another way to calculate the like the calendar or the days or the month, which is based on the moon and the moon cycle. And this lunar calendar is the calendar, or is the type of calendar that the Arabs used to follow back in the days. And now we're talking about Arabs, not Islam. There is no religion right now. I'm just talking, generally speaking, about a part of the world. So we'll go back in time a little bit to the Arabic Peninsula and see how things were working back in the days. So the pre-Islamic Arabs used to follow the lunar calendar, and to base their entire year on the moon. And it is quite interesting because they had specific names for each month, and the way they knew the beginning of the month and the end of the month was based on the moon cycle. So when we cite the birth of the crescent, this is the sign that this is a new month coming. So the month starts with a new crescent, and it takes all the cycle till the crescent disappears again by the end of the month. So that's 1 month, and then they wait till the birth of the next crescent. So that's the next month, and so on. And they used to get out in the desert back in the days to sight the crescent themselves, to know that, okay, this is the beginning of the month. Or if they didn't see the new crescent, then basically they continue the months that they are witnessing for 1 more day, and then they start the next month the day after. So that's why the lunar calendar's months are each month is either 29 days or 30 days. It's never more than that. It's either 29 or 30 days each month, okay, depending on sighting the moon. And this is different from the solar calendar or the normal calendar that we follow, because the months are different. It's either 30 or 31 days, and of course with the exception of February, okay? So the Arabs, the pre-Islamic Arabs used to follow the lunar month, and they used to depend on this calendar, the lunar calendar, in their day-to-day life, and in actually planning and preparing their warfare, okay? Because back in the days, war waging was a huge part of their lives, okay? So, and there were seasons for war as well. So they used to kind of establish this whole war planning according to the lunar month. And they had specific names for each month, and each name of each month has a meaning actually, and has an indication. I will just say the month, just will recite the months for you in order, so you know, like generally speaking, the names of the month, and then I will stop at each single name and each single meaning, and I will explain a little bit about it. And then we will, after that, inshallah, we will discuss the differences about following the lunar calendar between the pre-Islamic Arabs and the post-Islamic Arabs, inshallah. So it is 12 months, okay? And it starts with month called Muharram. Okay, this is the very first month. It's Muharram, and I would actually write them down in the chat box so you know. I'll write them down in both in Arabic and in English, so you'll find the name in Arabic and the name in English in it, like beside it, so you can read that. So it is, the first month is Muharram. Sorry. This is the Arabic name of it, and it's written like this in English. That's the first month, okay, Muharram. And then the month that follows, Muharram is equivalent to January, okay? The next month, which will be equivalent to February, it is Safar. In Arabic, it's written like that, Safar. And in English, it is Safar, this, okay? Next month is Rabi' al-Awwal. Rabi' al-Awwal, or first Rabi', because al-Awwal means first, so this is Rabi' al-Awwal, okay? Next will be Rabi' al-Akhir. Rabi' al-Akhir, okay? The last Rabi', and then Jumad al-Awwal. It's written like that. Jumada al-Awwal, okay? And the month after that is Jumada al-Akhir. Okay. Then comes the month of Rajab. Then Rajab, Sha'ban. The month after Rajab is Sha'ban. I'm sorry, this is my Swedish. This is my Swedish keyboard. I'll write the English again. So it is Sha'ban. Yes. And then comes after Sha'ban, Ramadan. We're all familiar with that month. Here we go, Ramadan. Then comes Shawwal. Okay. And then comes Zulhijjah, which we are witnessing right now. We're currently in Zulhijjah. And Zu, I'll just write it with a Z, but it's basically the pronunciation, the correct pronunciation is the sound of the TH and the. So you use your tongue when you're pronouncing it. So it's Zulhijjah, okay, but I'll write it just with a Z. Zulhijjah. Again, that's my Spanish. Okay, and the last month, which is we will be focusing on in this workshop, is Zulhijjah. And here is the last month, Those are the 12 months, okay? If you check the chat box, you'll find all the 12 months of the lunar calendar in Arabic and in English, okay? Great. So, Muharram, this is the very first month that comes in the calendar. Muharram means, have you ever heard the word haram in Arabic? If you heard that word, please raise your hands, give me thumbs up or anything. That's great. Okay, what does haram means? What does it mean, haram?
Not halal.
Yes, which means?
Kosher.
Oh, yes.
Appropriate to consume. Appropriate. To eat, or...
Well, yes, that's a good meaning actually. Appropriate to consume. What else?
Wait, is the Kaaba called Haram Sharif?
Al-Haram Sharif. Yes, it's the same root. Yes. But
Yeah. So does it mean like sacred? Yeah. kill anything or something?
Okay, it might be sacred, yes, but
Um,
think a little bit more. When somebody tells you this is haram, what does it mean? What does it indicate?
you can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Right. So haram,
Forbidden.
yes,
It means forbidden or
yes,
harmful.
yes, exactly. So haram, this is an Arabic word that means forbidden. Okay. Muharram comes from that same root, and as Ramla said, Al-Haram al-Makki, which is where the Kaaba is, it's called Al-Haram again, al-Makki. So it's the same root for the same word. So Muharram means forbidden in Arabic, okay? And why did they call it like that? Because the Arabs used to forbid war waging during this month. Okay, so that's why they called it forbidden. Okay, it's not allowed to wage war during this month, and that's the very beginning of the year for the Arabs. Okay, and we're again talking about the pre-Islamic Arabs here. Okay, so this is the month of Muharram. All right, next is the month of Safar. Okay. And again, I would like to ask you, have you ever heard the word صفر in Arabic? Anyone studied Arabic before? Okay, Fatima.
Does that mean zero?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes, it means zero. Yes. Okay, so صفر in Arabic means zero, and safar comes from the same root, and it means the same. So it means zero. And why they named it like that? Because in Safar, it is said that the houses of the Arabs in the different tribes used to kind of completely like be empty of the men living in this tribe because they are out for war. Okay, so it's only women and children that are there. So it's kind of, there are zero men in the tribes and zero men in the villages and zero men in the tents because they are out for war. So that's why they called it Safar. Okay, so it's zero. Okay, so we started the calendar with Muharram, forbidden. There is no war waging during this month. Then it is Safar. So after they kind of finished or ended their vacation, the war vacation, they started to go and seek war again. So that's why it is Safar. Okay. Then the next month is Rabi' al-Awwal. Okay, which means the first. Al-Awwal in Arabic means the first, and it means the first Rabi'. Have you ever heard the word Rabi' before? Does it sound familiar to any of you? Rabi'. Okay, it is linked to your music. What?
I was going to say it sounds similar to one of the prophet's wives' names.
No, but it's linked to the seasons.
Okay.
What Rabi' could be from the 4 seasons? What do you think? Uzma?
Isn't it spring?
Yes, it is. It is spring. Okay. So Rabi' al-Awwal is the first spring, kind of. And the word Rabi', it has different meanings in Arabic. Okay. One of the meanings is the spring season. Okay, that we all know. And one of the meanings is that, and as well, it indicates to the spring season, is that people are enjoying like their cattle and enjoying the crops and enjoying the the fruits where they are living. Okay, so Rabi' al-Awwal, it was an indication that this month came during the springtime. Okay, where they are kind of living like prosperly, like they have the fruits, they have the cattle, they have, like, their life is prospering during this time. Okay, and then Rabi' al-Akhir carries the same name, which is spring as well, but al-Akhir means the last. So we have the first and the last. Okay, and it was said that it was named like this because it happened to come at the same season. Okay, so we have 2 months during this season, which is Rabi' al-Awwal and Rabi' al-Akhir. and I'll come later on, inshallah, to clarify why it was named like this. Okay, then we have Jumada al-Awwal. Okay, Jumada means, Jamuda in Arabic means to be hard or to become solid. Okay, when I tell you al-ma jamuda means the water has hardened or the water froze. Okay, so Jumada comes from the same root. Okay, Jumada al-Awwal, which means as well an indication to another season, which is the winter season, that the water used to freeze during this time. Okay, so that's Jumad al-Awwal, and then comes the next, which is Jumad al-Akhir. It's the same name, it carries the same name, but the last Jumada, so that's the beginning of the winter, and that's the last, like the end of the winter. Okay, so far we took Muharram, forbidden, they used to abstain from war during that month. Muharram, then Safar. Safar means there were no men left in the tribes because all men were out for war. And then Rabi' al-Awwal, the first spring. Rabi' al-Thani, or Rabi' al-Akhir, the last spring. Jumad al-Awwal, it indicates to water freezing or the beginning of the winter season. And Jumad al-Akhir, which indicates the last, like the end of the winter season. Okay. Okay, then after that we have Rabi' al-Awwal, Rabi' al-Thani, Jumad al-Awwal, and Jumad al-Akhir, and then comes the month of Rajab. Okay, Rajab in Arabic means to respect, okay, or to glorify. Okay, so when I say in Arabic Rajab al-Shakhs, it means that he like glorified that person or he respected that person. Okay. And they named that month Rajab because people used to glorify that time of the year. And by glorifying that time of the year, they used as well to abstain from war. Okay, so that's the second time they are not engaging into war. Okay, so that's Rajab. Okay, then comes Sha'ban. Okay, Sha'ban in Arabic means either that, well, the authentic meaning of Sha'ban is basically something that is between two things, okay? Like something that comes in the middle of two things, okay? And people use the word for one of two things, either to indicate that Sha'ban is basically becoming between Rajab and Ramadan, so it's in between those 2 months. That's one like view of why people used to name it Rajab. I'm sorry, Sha'ban. Or the other view actually said that, no, people named this month Sha'ban because people used to go out again into the desert, okay? And they used to take different baths, different like roads and different paths throughout the desert in order to seek war as well, okay? So they are kind of doing like this spreading, okay, between the different baths in the desert. So that's why they called it Sha'ban, okay? And then comes Ramadan, the very famous month, I believe. And Ramadan, in Arabic, Ramadan, it refers to the very, very severe and strong heat, okay? And it was said that, and I'll come to that later on, it was said that people named that month Ramadan because of the extreme heat they used to witness during that month, okay? So Ramadan. And Ramadan in Arabic means to actually sit in where you are because of the heat. You cannot really move because you're so hot. So that's why they called it Ramadan, because this is extremely hot time of the year, and they used to like kind of sit in their places because of the heat. Okay, then comes Shawwal. Have you ever heard the word shala in Arabic? When I tell you shal, like shal al-shakhsu something, have you ever heard that before? No? Okay. Shawwal, shala means to lift, okay, or to raise, okay? And Shawwal, it was named like this because it is said that during that time of the year, it is kind of the mating season for the animals of the people. So the animals used to like raise their tails for the mating season, So that's why they called it Shawwal. Okay. Another narration was told that the animals' milks used to kind of I don't know how to explain that, but like the animal's milk used to be less during this period or during this time of the year. So as well, they referred to as if somebody lifted up the animal's milk. Okay, so that's Shawwal, and then comes Dhul Qa'dah. Okay, Al Qa'dah. Have you ever heard the word Qa'dah in Arabic? What does it mean? Qa'dah. So if I'm standing up and then I found the chair, so I would say قعد الشخص. That means to sit. Okay. So Dhul Qa'dah means the month when people used to sit. And it is named like that as well because it was one of the months that the Arabs used to abstain from war. So they used to sit at home, okay, and not go out for war. So that's why they called it Dhul Qa'dah, okay? So they used to sit in the tribes, okay? And then the very last month, and Dhul Qa'dah, by the way, is the month that we are witnessing right now. And Zulhijjah, which will start, I believe, next week, is the very last month of the lunar calendar. And Al-Hijjah, does it sound familiar to you? Hijjah, Hajj. Oh, yes, I can see some faces saying this. Okay, what is Hajj? Hello.
Pilgrimage.
Yes. Dhul Hijjah. They named that month after Hajj, which is pilgrimage, and that's because Arabs used to do pilgrimage to the Kaaba by that time, and we again are talking about the pre-Islamic Arabs. Okay, they used to do pilgrimage during that month. Okay, so those are the 12 lunar months of the in this time. It's the pre-Islamic Arabs, okay, and their meanings and why they named it like that. Now the scholars actually said two things about the pre-Islamic month. They said that Arabs, some of them said Arabs used to actually have those months didn't move at all, so they didn't go in grounds like the same as what we know for the solar calendar right now. So January, it comes every single year at a very specific time, right? It never changes. February comes at a very specific time. So July, we know that July always comes in summer, okay? We know that December and January comes always in winter, and so on, okay? So some scholars said that was the same. This was the case for the lunar month for the pre-Islamic Arabs as well. It's used to keep its time, okay? And that's why some months like Rabi' al-Awwal and Rabi' al-Akhir and Jumad al-Awwal and Jumad al-Akhir were named like that because it indicated the season they actually came into. So Rabi', it always came in the spring. That's why it took the name Rabi'. Jumada, it always came in winter. So that's why it took the name Jumada, okay? That was one school of thought. The other school of thought said, no, this is not how it was. Actually, the months used to kind of circulate around the year normally, but the naming of the month happened. It happened that when they started naming the months, it was that season at this time. So when they started to name the months, it happened that Rabi' al-Awwal came in the spring. So it took the name and it kept it, no matter how it went around after that, okay? One very important thing to mention about the pre-Islamic Arabs and the lunar month is that they used actually kind of to mix and match the month and to I would say, shuffle the order of the months in order for them to make the calendar, okay, compatible with their warfare plans, okay? So because they had 4 months in those 12 months when they abstain from war, okay? They take a break, right? So in order for them to make sure that their war plans go as smooth as possible and according to what they were intending, they used actually to shift the order of the months. So they used to bring, for example, Rajab in a time different than last year, okay? And they used to change the names of the months as well in order to change their order, okay? And because if they kept the calendar as is, okay, with 4 months when they abstain from war, that means that their interest, like their own benefits from waging war, might be affected, okay? So that's why they used to play with the order of the month this way. Now, when Islam came, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, and I'm going to recite, this is in chapter 9, verse 36. Chapter 9 is Surah At-Tawbah. I will recite in Arabic first, and then I will translate in English. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم وقاتلوا المشركين كافة كما يقاتلونكم كافة واعلموا أن الله مع المتقين. So the verse says, indeed, the number of months ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is 12, okay? In Allah's record, since the day He created the heavens and the earth, okay? Of which 4 are sacred, okay? That is the right way. So do not wrong yourselves or oppress yourselves during them, okay? And then the ayah continues. So when Islam came, Islam kept the same calendar as it was before Islam with the same names, okay? And actually, the verse here tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created like the months to be 12 before even creating the humans, because we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and the earth before creating the human. So Allah tells us that He created 12 months to be our like year, okay, before creating the humans, and He made 4 months out of those 12 months to be sacred, okay? And that was the same way the pre-Islamic Arabs used to follow, okay? They used to have 4 months to be sacred when they abstain from war during the year, okay? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this information to humankind throughout the different revelations, okay? With the prophets and with the messengers. And that's how people like got the concept of sacredness of some months over the others. But the pre-Islamic Arabs used to like abstain from war during some of those months because they used to glorify their own idols that they used to worship, okay? So out of glorifying their gods, they used to abstain from war. For example, like Rajab, okay? The month of Rajab, and we said Rajab means to glorify, right? So they used to glorify their idols, so by abstaining from war, okay? So Islam came and kept the same calendar, kept the same names, okay? And kept the same sacredness of those 4 months, okay? And we're going to mention what 4 months are sacred. And it's the same 4 months that used to be sacred during the time before Islam, okay? But the difference is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it haram, made it forbidden for the Arabs to play with the order of the months any longer. So they cannot really shift or switch the orders of the months, okay? And the orders of the months fade like that. محرم صفر ربيع الأول ربيع الآخر جماد الأول جماد الآخر رجب شعبان رمضان شوال ذو القعدة and ذو الحجة. As is, they cannot switch places, okay? This is forbidden. This is one difference. And of course, the months started to move around, okay? It's no longer the month is at the same time at the same season. So because it depends on the moon, so that's why Ramadan some years comes in like the summer, some other years comes in the spring, some other years comes in the winter, and so on. Okay, so that's the main difference. The other difference is that the 4 glorified or like the 4 sacred months before Islam became even more sacred after Islam, and we are going to see how. The 4 sacred months, or what we call in Arabic, Al-Ash-hur, Al-hurum. Al-Ash-hur means months, and Al-hurum means sacred, okay? Those 4 sacred months are, we have Zulhijjah, which we are in right now, Zulhijjah, and Muharram, the very first of the Islamic calendar, or like the lunar calendar, and then Rajab, okay? Those are the 4 sacred months. So again, it's Zulhijjah, Zulhijjah, Muharram, and Rajab. So if you notice, Zulqa'dah, Zulhijjah, and Muharram comes in sequence, right after each other. Zulqa'dah first, then Zulhijjah, then the year ends, and we start all over again with another sacred month, which is Muharram. And Rajab is kind of isolated, okay? So 3 comes after each other and 1 alone, okay? Now, the concept of sacredness in Islam is quite interesting because it affects how your deeds and how your actions are weighed and valued in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, for example, during the sacred times or the sacred months, our actions, both the bad deeds and the good deeds, are valued differently, okay? And the same concept of sacredness could actually, as well, you will find it actually present as well when it comes to spaces. And I will explain that in just a few seconds. How it comes that our deeds and our actions are valued or weighed differently in different times. So, for example, we know that Ramadan is a time where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that all the good deeds are kind of multiplied by thousands, okay? Because it is a time where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has lots of mercy for the humankind and for the mankind, right? It is the same when it comes to the sacred 4 months, or Al-Ash-hur al-hurum. Any good deed that a human does during this time of those 4 sacred months is actually valued more. It's greater in value. So if you pray normally in like out of those 4 sacred months, you are getting your thawab, or you're getting your reward for your prayers, but the reward is even more if you prayed your normal, regular daily prayers during the time of those 4 sacred months, okay? If you did anything voluntarily, any good deed voluntarily, like giving charity, helping others, and there are like, the list is huge, like even smiling. We know that smiling is sadaqah, okay? The Prophet ﷺ told us, if you smiled in the face of each other, this is considered to be a good deed, okay? Just smiling with that intention that I'm doing this as sadaqah, you are rewarded for it more during the sacred 4 months, okay? And so on. It's not just the good deeds that are valued more, but actually as well, the bad deeds are valued more into or during those sacred 4 months. And by that I mean, it's not multiplied, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that, and this is a rule, like an Islamic rule that you can take for granted, and as well it shows us the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, or the Prophet ﷺ told us, that Allah said, من هم بحسنة okay ولم يعملها كتبت له حسنة. So whoever intends to do something good, intends, just an intention in the heart. I haven't done it yet, okay? It's just inside of me, okay? And I haven't done it yet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask the angels to write it down as one good deed, okay? Although I haven't done it yet, okay? So من هم بحسنة ولم يعملها كتب له أجر, okay? So what if I did it? I did what I intended to do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to multiply this good deed for me by 10 or by 100 or by 1,000 or more, okay? According to Allah's willingness. Okay, what about the bad deed? That's I'm talking in the normal days, not the sacred days, okay? This is the rule, okay? So if you intended to do something good and you haven't done it yet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala writes it down or records it for you as one good deed, okay? And if you did it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala writes it down for you as 10 and more, okay? For bad deeds, if I have the intention to do something bad and I didn't do it, what do you think? How it's going to be recorded? Just share some thoughts, following the same reasoning and following the same rule. So I have an intention to do something bad, but I haven't done it. How it's going to be recorded? Will it be recorded as one bad deed as well?
No, because you didn't do it.
Okay. Okay, so how it's going to be recorded, Ramla? What do you think?
Oh, I don't think it's going to be recorded.
Okay.
Because,
okay.
yeah.
Because what? Go ahead.
Because I guess God is merciful, you know.
Yes, okay. So whoever agrees with Ramla that if I have intention to do something bad and I didn't do it, it won't be recorded at all, raise your hands or give me a thumbs up. 2, 3. How about the others? Okay, 4. Okay, may I ask what do you think? Hafsa and Anna, I haven't seen your hands. That means you're not agreeing, right?
I was guessing from the pattern of the good deeds that if you have the intention, that it would be counted as a bad deed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hafsa, would you like to share anything? Okay. Well, here it comes. If I am intending to do something bad and I haven't done it yet, no, it wouldn't count as one bad deed. And it wouldn't even count, it's not recorded at all, but actually it will be counted as one good deed. Because I didn't do it, okay? It's still inside of me. Okay, I didn't translate that into action. Okay, so as long as I'm preventing myself still, it's still in my head, it's still in my heart, but I didn't translate it into action, okay? Didn't become like verbal yet, okay? As long as it's inside, it's counted as one good deed. What if I've done what I intended to do, which was bad? Anything like backbiting, stealing something, cheating something, whatsoever, okay? How it's going to be recorded? It's going to be recorded as one bad deed only, okay? And this is the rule in the normal days, okay? So even in the sacred months, even if that the good deeds are multiplied by 100 and 1,000 and so on, the bad deeds are not multiplied even during the sacred months, still counts as one bad deed, but it's greater in value, okay? It's worse, it's heavier, okay? Because you are violating the sanctity of those months, okay? So it is heavier, it is greater in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay? That you are disobeying Him during this sacred time, okay? But the amount is not multiplied, okay? But the value is greater, okay? And it is quite interesting that this concept actually is present and present clearly in Islam. The sacredness linked to our own actions. And I would say, and actually I just remembered my my political science professor, Professor Hiba Raouf Izzat. She used to tell us that there are like 4 dimensions normally to think of when it comes to our own actions in Islam, okay? The dimension of time, which is very centric and very crucial to Islam. And whoever attended with me the prayer workshop or the Ramadan workshop, we have already touched upon that Islam teaches the human to be sensitive towards time and to respect time. And we see that in different things. We see that in our daily prayers, because each prayer has its own time span. So there is a start time for, like, for example, the Dhuhr prayer. Before that, with even 1 second, it's not counted to be a Dhuhr yet. And there is an end time to the Dhuhr prayer, or to this interval, and then starts the next prayer and so on. Or even for Ramadan, if we're fasting and we're going to break our fast, you should break your fast, or you must break your fast when the sun sets, right? But if you fasted the whole day and you broke your fast intentionally before the sun sets, even with 1 minute, your fasting is void, okay? Because we have to be sensitive and respectful for time, okay? It's the same when it comes to sacredness. There are some periods in the year that are sacred and that we need to actually pay more and closer attention to our own deeds and to our own actions and to our own attitudes during those times, okay? And subhanallah, as well, the concept of time is linked to both mercy and as well linked to our own deeds. So for example, the Prophet ﷺ told us, الصلوات الخمس والجمعة للجمعة ورمضان إلى رمضان مكفرات لما بينهن إذا اجتنبت الكبائر. Which means the 5 daily prayers, okay? And the Jum'ah prayer to the next Jum'ah prayer, and Ramadan to the next Ramadan, those are different intervals, okay? Those intervals are kind of sin sweepers. They kind of sweep the sins and the bad deeds that a human commits during those intervals, as long as the Muslim stays away from committing any of the major sins in Islam, okay? So we have those intervals. We have smaller intervals, which is the daily prayers. It's like few hours between each prayer, okay? And then if you missed any of those, you have the weekly interval, which is from Jum'ah to Jum'ah, to sweep your bad deeds. If you missed that, you have the yearly or the annual interval, which is from Ramadan to Ramadan, to sweep whatever you did during that year, okay? So it's kind of an ongoing mercy, like sale kind of thing, okay, throughout the year. So we have those kind of intervals. As well, we have the intervals of Ash-hur hurum, okay, the 4 sacred months, okay? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought those to us. So after we finish Ramadan, we have the 6 days of Shawwal, and we know the virtues of those 6 days. Whoever fasts Ramadan and follows them with fasting 6 days of Shawwal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kind of clears all his sins that he has done in the past, okay? So you become clear again, okay? If you missed these, we have Zulhijjah, which is the beginning of the sacred months, okay, where your good deeds are valued more. And then you have Zulhijjah, which is the most sacred month of them, and we will know that tomorrow, inshallah. And then you have the beginning of the year, Muharram, again a sacred month. So you're kind of maintaining your spiritual high during this time. And then if you kind of, your iman went low a little bit, then comes Rajab in the middle of the year that boosts your iman again and boosts your spiritual high again, okay? And as well, there is the other dimension of the space, okay? There are sacred places in Islam in which if you did any of your good deeds will be valued more, even if it's happening in the normal time, not in the sacred time. And as well, if you did bad deeds, it is, or they are valued more, okay? Those sacred places are Al-Masjid al-Haram, which is Al-Kaaba, okay? And Al-Masjid al-Nabawi, the mosque of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina, and the Masjid al-Aqsa, the Aqsa mosque in Palestine or in Jerusalem, okay? Those three places as well, prayer is valued differently in them. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that one normal prayer, okay, in his mosque is equivalent to 1,000 prayers in any other place, okay? So if I pray Asr in my home here in Massachusetts, it will count, for example, as one. If I prayed Asr in the Prophet's mosque, it will be counted as 1,000, okay? And prayer in Al-Haram al-Makki, in Al-Kaaba, okay, it's equivalent to 100,000, okay, of a normal prayer, okay? And the prayer in Aqsa Mosque is equivalent to 500, okay? And that's because the place is sacred. So we have the dimension of the time, which is the sacred 4 months, and we have the dimension of the space, which is the different places where there are sacred and where your actions are valued differently, okay? That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the verse I mentioned. I'm gonna just read it again quickly. Like, indeed, the number of months ordained by Allah is 12 in Allah's record since the day He created the heavens and the earth, of which 4 are sacred. That is the right way. So do not wrong yourselves or oppress yourselves during these months. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us not to oppress ourselves during this month, because things are valued differently. And by oppressing ourselves, it means that we're committing sins, basically, right? And each bad deed is greater in value than a normal bad deed committed out of these time intervals or out of these time spans. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us not to oppress ourselves or wrong ourselves during this time. And the scholars actually disagreed. Some of them said, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us not to wrong ourselves during the 12 months entirely. Yes, because bad deed is a bad deed after all. And some scholars said, no, it's during the 12 months, but specifically during those 4 months, because everything is valued differently. And during those 4 months, the Arabs pre-Islamic time, they used to abstain from war. And during the Islamic time as well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made war forbidden during those 4 months, okay? And the non-believers or the mushrikeen of Mecca by that time, when they knew that, they kind of fished their wish, you know, like, okay, great, the Muslims are not going to be into any kind of war during these times, so it's the perfect time for the mushrikeen to wage war over the Muslims, right? So after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the Muslims to defend themselves. If they got attacked, they are allowed to defend themselves, because it's nonsense. If you got attacked, you're just letting the other side to kill you and to make you vanish. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Muslims, you are allowed to defend yourselves during Al-Ash-hur al-hurum if the non-Muslims or the mushrikeen by that time waged war on you first. And then right now the scholars again have different opinions about forbidding war during those 4 sacred months. Some of them said this was just something very specific to the prophetic era and the prophetic time, and it's not like that any longer. So it is halal to wage war during those 4 months right now. And some other scholars said no, the rule is still valid and the rule is still on, that war waging is forbidden during those 4 months right now, if it's not for defense. So that's how the scholars are right now. So that's in short the story of the lunar calendar, if I would say. The Arabs used to depend on the sun for their to time their day, okay? And they used to depend on the moon to time their year. So, for example, the daily prayers in Islam, by the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they didn't have a clock, okay? So in order for them to know what time is it for which prayer, they used to depend on the sun. So for Fajr, for example, it's when the blackness of the night splits. That's to prepare for the sunrise, so that's Fajr time. For Dhuhr, they used to put an object in the sand, and if the shadow of the object is equal to the length of the object, this is Dhuhr time. When the shadow of the object is double the length of the object itself, it's Asr time. And when sun sets, it's Maghrib, and when the sky is black completely, it is Isha. Okay, so they used to depend on the sun in knowing the times of the day, and they used to depend on the moon and the cycle of the moon to make sure, or to maintain their calculation of the months throughout the year. Okay, and that's as well what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Al-Quran in Surah Yunus. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, this is the last thing that we're going to end with. Surah Yunus is chapter 10, verse 5. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, هو الذي جعل الشمس ضياء والقمر نورا وقدره منازل لتعلموا عدد السنين والحساب ما خلق الله ذلك إلا بالحق يفصل الآيات لقوم يعلمون. He is the one, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who made the sun a radiant source and the moon reflected light, okay, with precisely ordained phases, so that you may know the number of years and calculation of time. Allah didn't create all this except for a purpose. He makes the signs clear for people of knowledge, okay? So, and that's basically what the Arab used to follow, and before Islam and even after Islam. That's all for today. Jazakumullah khairan. I've done my part. I know we're 8 minutes over the time. I'm sorry for that. Tomorrow, inshallah, we're going to dig deeper into Zulhijjah itself, and specifically the first 10 days of Zulhijjah, why they are important, how they are blessed, what kind of hadith the Prophet ﷺ said in the virtues of those 10 days. And we will continue on, inshallah. Any thoughts, questions, sharing of any kind is more than welcome. I apologize again for stepping over time. So yeah, feel free just to share anything, please.
Oh, this is very informative. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything? Okay, Kim?
I just think it's great. I really appreciate you showing where it is also in the Quran, because a lot of times we'll read it, especially in English, and not necessarily understand the pre-Islamic connotations and how, as you stated, the pre-Islamic informed the Islam, and Islam made it even more sacred or brought new meaning to it, but they really are connected. So it is important to understand the pre-Islamic history as well as Islamic history. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Kim, feel free to end today's session whenever you would like, and tomorrow, inshallah, at the same time, we're going to speak and to discuss more the first 10 days of Zulhijjah and their virtues, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan jami'an. Thank you so much.